Introduction: The Hollow Bell. On July 20, 1969, when Apollo 11's lunar module landed on the moon, something unexpected happened. The impact made the moon ring like a bell for nearly an hour. NASA scientists were baffled. When Apollo 12 deliberately crashed its lunar module into the moon's surface in November 1969, the moon rang for over 3 hours. The seismic waves didn't behave like they would through solid rock. They behaved as if the moon was hollow. For decades, NASA kept the full implications classified. The seismic data suggested massive voids within the moon, caverns that shouldn't exist, spaces too regular to be natural, and deep within, at the boundary between the moon's mantle and its small molten core, signatures of something impossible: liquid water, kept warm by radioactive decay and tidal heating from Earth. In 2024, NASA's Artemis III mission deployed advanced seismic arrays across the lunar surface. The data confirmed what conspiracy theorists had claimed for years but scientists had dismissed. The moon is partially hollow, containing a vast network of caverns and tunnels. And at its heart, 1,000 kilometers below the surface, lies an ocean that shouldn't exist. A body of water the size of Lake Superior, heated by the moon's slowly cooling core. But that wasn't the most shocking discovery. In 2025, ground-penetrating radar from the Lunar Gateway Station detected structures in these caverns. Geometric, regular, artificial. Someone or something had been inside the moon long before humans arrived. Today I'll tell you two stories. First, the real NASA data about the moon's interior. The seismic anomalies, the density problem, the magnetic mysteries. Second, the story of Dr. Maya Gupta's expedition in 2140 into the moon's hidden depths, where she discovered not just water, but evidence that would rewrite human history. Ready to journey to the center of the moon? Then let's begin. Because what's hiding inside our nearest celestial neighbor is more incredible than any science fiction. Part 1. NASA data: the moon's impossible interior. The Apollo seismic experiments. Between 1969 and 1977, the Apollo missions left a network of seismometers on the moon. What they recorded defied explanation. The ringing moon phenomenon. Apollo 12 LM impact. Moon rang for 3 hours 20 minutes. Apollo 13 S4B impact. 15 tons, 5,600 mph. Moon rang for 4 hours. Apollo 14 impact. Reverberations detected 87 miles away. Earth comparison. Similar impacts on Earth ring for 30 seconds maximum. Dr. Maurice Ewing, co-director of the seismic experiment, stated,
"It's as though one had struck a bell in a church belfry, a single blow, and found that the reverberation continued for 4 hours. Seismic wave anomalies: normal rocky bodies show predictable seismic behavior. Tom, P waves, primary/pressure, travel through solid and liquid. S waves, secondary shear, only travel through solid. Moon's bizarre pattern: Tom, P waves traveled far deeper than expected.
S waves showed shadow zones, suggesting liquid or voids. Wave speeds increased then decreased with depth, impossible in solid rock. Waves accelerated through certain regions, indicating less dense material or empty space. The shallow moonquakes. Depth, 0-300 kil, unusually shallow. Magnitude, up to 5.5. Duration, 10+ minutes. Earthquakes, 1 to 2 minutes. NASA's conclusion was carefully worded. The moon's interior differs radically from Earth's. The density problem. The moon's density reveals a fundamental mystery. Overall density. Moon, 3.34 grams slurked. Earth, 5.51 gram. Surface rocks, both, humidity 3.0 gram. This means the moon's interior must be less dense than its surface, the opposite of every other rocky body. Mass distribution, anomalies, mass cons, mass concentrations. Dense regions under impact basins, but overall interior, less dense than it should be. NASA calculation. Moon is 57% as dense as it should be if solid. Missing mass, heat 40% of expected value. Dr. Sean Solomon of MIT. The lunar orbiter experiments vastly improved our knowledge of the moon's gravitational field, indicating the frightening possibility that the moon might be hollow. Magnetic anomalies. The moon has no global magnetic field, but it has something stranger: localized magnetic fields. Strength, up to 1% of Earth's field. Pattern, random, not dipolar. Implication, not from a dynamo core. Reiner gamma formation, bright swirls on lunar surface, associated with magnetic anomalies. Theory, magnetic fields deflecting solar wind. Problem, source of magnetism unknown. Apollo sample magnetism, rocks showed ancient magnetization. Age, 4 billion years old. Strength when magnetized, stronger than Earth's current field, implies the Moon once had a powerful magnetic field that suddenly stopped. Grail mission discoveries, 2011-2012. NASA's Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory revealed crustal thickness variations. Near side, 20-30 kilometers. Far side, 40 to 60 kilometers. South Pole Aitken Basin, nearly absent crust. Implication, something removed massive amounts of material. Deep structure, core 30-30 400 kilometer radius. Smaller than expected. Core temperature, 1900 K. Hotter than expected. Partial melt zone, 150 kilometers thick. Discovery, liquid layer between mantle and core. Linear gravity anomalies. Subsurface dikes, kilometers wide, hundreds of kilometers long. Pattern, radial from major impacts, but some patterns, no associated impact. Geometric regularity in places. Lunar caves and lava tubes. Discovered caves. Mar Tranquillitatis Pit, 100-meter diameter. Unknown depth. Marianjani Pit, 130-meter diameter. Marius Hills Pit, 65-meter diameter. 80-meter deep, minimal. Radar detection of lava tubes. 2017, Tronx's Selene probe found tubes 50 kilometers long. Width, up to 1 kilometers. Height, hundreds of meters. Could house entire cities. Temperature anomalies. Surface, 973 collars to 127 collars. Caves, constant -20 collars. Deep interior models, up to 1300 collars. Unexplained. Warm spots with no volcanic activity. The water discovery. Chandrayaan-1, 2008. Cabeus crater impact. Water detected. 5.6% by mass in soil. Also found silver, mercury, carbon monoxide, deep interior water. Theoretical. Seismic data suggests liquid layer. Temperature models allow for briny water. Location, 1,1200 kilometers depth. Volume, 10,000 kilometers thupite. Possible. Unexplained. Transient lunar phenomena, TLP. Observed for centuries. Confirmed by NASA. Types of TLP. Glowing spots lasting hours. Moving lights across surface. Temporary obscurations of surface features. Color changes in specific regions. NASA observations. Apollo 11. Strange lights in Aristarchus crater. Apollo 17. Orange soil, volcanic glass still warm. Clementine mission. Possible current volcanism. Orange soil, volcanic glass, still warm. Clementine mission. Possible current volcanism, concentrated in specific regions. Aristarchus, Plato, Alphonsus. Part 2. Dr. Maya Gupta's Expedition, 214-140. Prologue, The Discovery. March 15, 2140, 0830, Lunar Standard Time. Shackleton Base, Lunar South Pole. Dr. Maya Gupta stood before the holographic display, showing the latest deep radar scans. At 38, she was the leading expert in lunar archaeology, a field that didn't exist until 5 years ago, when the Chinese Chang'e 15 mission discovered the first artifacts. The 3D image rotated slowly, revealing a vast network of caverns extending from the South Pole Aitken Basin toward the lunar core. But it wasn't the caves that made her heart race. It was the structures within them. Geometrically perfect corridors, chambers with 90-degree angles, and at the deepest level, her equipment could reach 280 kilometers down. A vast open space, filled with what appeared to be liquid. Computer, enhance section 47 alpha, Maya commanded. The image zoomed in. There, clear as day, were what looked like pillars, hundreds of them, each 50 meters wide, extending from floor to ceiling of a cavern 2 kilometers high. They were arranged in a perfect hexagonal pattern. Natural lava tubes, don't form hexagonal pillars in perfect arrays. Natural caves don't have corridors that maintain exact 3-meter heights for hundreds of kilometers. And natural formations definitely don't have what appeared to be a door 10 meters tall, 5 meters wide, with symbols carved around its frame. Maya's team had been preparing for 2 years. Tomorrow, they would begin humanity's deepest journey into the moon. What they would find would challenge everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. The team, the Lunar Interior Exploration Mission, consisted of 6 specialists. Dr. Maya Gupta, mission leader, archaeologist, expert in pre-human artifacts, discovered the Martian microfossils in 2136, fluent in 12 languages, including theoretical xenolinguistics. Dr. James Chen, geologist, lunar cave systems expert, developed the theory of lunar hollow zones. Previous experience, Europa's ice caves. Dr. Elena Vasquez, biologist, brologist, extremophile specialist, found living organisms 5 kilometers deep in Earth's crust, believed life could exist in lunar caves. Captain Rick Thompson, military advisor, security, former Mars colonial defense, expert in underground combat and rescue, psychological training for isolation. Dr. Yuki Nakamura, nuclear engineer, portable fusion reactor designer, radiation shielding expert, maintained life support for asteroid mining operations. Dr. Omar Hassan, quantum physicist, radiation phase, wilts, spulsional de moment, newly quantum physicist mineral, buas. The entry point was a recently discovered cave opening near Shackleton Crater, designated Gateway 7. Initial robot probes had descended 50 kilometers before losing signal. The last images showed smooth, clearly artificial walls. Their vehicle was the Dante III, a nuclear-powered vertical descent craft. Length 30 meters, diameter 8 meters, crew capacity 8-6 crew, plus 2 emergency, life support 60 days, armor 20 centimeter graphene titanium composite, equipment, deep radar, laser drills, sample collectors, quantum communicators, special feature, metamaterial hull that could adjust density for pressure changes. The mission parameters were clear. Drape Bay, descend to 100-kilometer minimum, document all structures, collect samples, search for technology. If contact is made with anything, follow first contact protocols. Return within 30 days. What wasn't in the official parameters but everyone understood. Find out who built these structures and why. The descent begins. March 16th, Dan. 2040 10 LST. Dante III's lights illuminated Gateway 7 as they descended. The first kilometer was natural. Rough volcanic rock. Evidence of ancient lava flows. But at 1.3 kilometers, everything changed. The walls became smooth, not worn smooth by erosion, but machine smooth. Laser measurements showed variations of less than 1 millimeter over 100-meter sections. James, are you seeing this? Maya asked. Dr. Chen was running his hands over his instruments. The salt, but it's been fused. Temperature required for this kind of fusion, 1,800 Celsius minimum. And look at these readings. It was done in a single pass. Something melted through this rock like butter. At 5 kilometers, they encountered the first chamber. It was enormous, 500 meters wide, 200 meters high. The walls were covered in panels of an unknown material that looked like dark glass but registered as harder than diamond on their instruments. Maya, you need to see this, Elena called from the analysis station. On the dark panels were symbols, not carved but somehow embedded within the material itself, visible only when light hit at certain angles. They formed patterns, mathematical sequences, geometric progressions, and something that looked almost like a map. Omar was scanning with equipment that detected quantum signatures. This material, it's not from our periodic table. It has stable elements above 120. That's supposed to be impossible. They collected samples and continued deeper. The corridor network, at 15 kilometers depth, Dante III entered what could only be described as a subway system. Tunnels, perfectly circular, 10 meters in diameter, branched off in multiple directions. The walls here were different. A pearl white material that emitted a faint luminescence. Bioluminescence? Elena suggested. No, Omar replied. It's drawing energy from background radiation and converting it to light at nearly 100% efficiency. This is technology we won't develop for another 1,000 years. They chose the tunnel that led toward the moon's center. As they traveled, instruments detected something extraordinary: air pressure. Thin, but it was there. 0.1 atmospheres, and rising as they descended. At 25 kilometers, they could theoretically walk without pressure suits, though the air composition was wrong. With 40% nitrogen, 30% argon, 20% oxygen, 10% unknown gases. How is there atmosphere here? Rick asked. James checked his readings. The rock above us is sealed. Whatever made these tunnels also made them airtight. And look at this. Temperature is rising. We're at 10 Celsius now. The first artifact at 40 kilometers depth. They found the first major artifact chamber. Dante III's lights revealed a space that defied comprehension. A perfect sphere, 1 kilometer in diameter, carved from solid rock. In the center, suspended by no visible means, was an object. It was geometric, a dodecahedron, 20 meters across, made of the same impossible material as the wall panels above. It rotated slowly, about once per minute, and as it did, symbols on its surface changed. It's been rotating for, my God, Omar whispered, looking at isotopic decay measurements. Based on the dust patterns and micro-erosion, this thing has been spinning for at least 100,000 years, probably much longer. Maya approached in an EVA suit, though the atmosphere here was technically breathable. As she got closer, the dodecahedron reacted. The symbols began changing faster, cycling through patterns. Then, impossibly, it projected a hologram. The image showed the moon, but not as it was now. This moon had a thick atmosphere, blue oceans under a protective dome, and cities, vast structures that curved along crater rims and descended into massive artificial canyons. And in the space around it, ships, thousands of them. Then the image changed. It showed the Earth, but the continents were wrong. This was Earth from hundreds of millions of years ago, and approaching it was an asteroid. Massive, extinction level. The hologram showed the moon's inhabitants. Tall, slender beings with elongated heads and large eyes. Working frantically, they were moving their civilization underground, sealing themselves in, preparing for something. The asteroid hit Earth in the projection. The devastation was total, but that wasn't what they were hiding from. Something else came after, ships, but different. Dark, angular, predatory. The moon's defense systems activated. Weapons Maya couldn't understand, firing beams that bent space itself. But it wasn't enough. The projection showed the survivors retreating deeper, sealing passages behind them, going into what looked like suspended animation chambers, waiting. Then the dodecahedron went dark, deeper, into mystery. The team was shaken but continued. At 60 kilometers, they found the first body. It was in a crystalline pod, perfectly preserved. The being matched those from the hologram, 3 meters tall, humanoid, but clearly not human. The elongated skull, the 6-fingered hands, the skin that looked like it contained its own circuitry. How old? Maya asked. Elena ran dating scans. The pod is 65 million years old, plus or minus 2 million. The Chicxulub impact, James said quietly. The dinosaur extinction. They were here when it happened. They found more pods, thousands of them, in chambers that stretched beyond their lights. But they were all dark, powered down. The beings inside were dead, had been for millions of years. Whatever system was meant to wake them had failed. The living section, at 85 kilometers depth, everything changed. The tunnels here were active. Lights, actual lights, lined the corridors. The air was fresh, circulating. The temperature was a comfortable 22 Celsius. And then they heard it. A voice, speaking in a language none of them recognized, coming from speakers they couldn't see. Omar's translation, AI, worked frantically, finding patterns, comparing to the symbols they'd recorded. After 5 minutes, broken English emerged. Welcome, descendants, waited. Long time, emergency protocol activated by your presence. A door opened ahead of them, one that hadn't been there moments before. Beyond was a chamber filled with functioning equipment, holographic displays showing the moon's interior, Earth, the solar system, and standing in the center was one of them, alive, The Guardian. It called itself Guardian, or at least that's how the AI translated it. It was artificial, not a robot, but a biological construct designed to last millions of years, to wait, to preserve. Through broken translation and holographic demonstrations, Guardian told them the story. They were the Selines, the translation's best approximation. They had evolved on Earth 100 million years ago, in the age of dinosaurs. But they were not from Earth originally. Their ancestors had come from the stars, refugees from a war that consumed galaxies. They built their civilization on the moon to watch over Earth, to protect the developing life there. For 35 million years, they shepherded evolution, prevented extinctions when possible, guided the development of intelligence in multiple species. But then the destroyers came, the same force that had driven them from their original home. The Selines fought, but knew they couldn't win, so they did two things. Ronals. They hid their civilization, going underground, hoping to wait out the destroyers. They seeded Earth with genetic markers, hidden in the DNA of countless species, that would eventually lead to a species capable of reactivating their technology, humans. You are our legacy, Guardian explained. Your DNA contains our message, our knowledge, locked until ready. The ocean discovery. At 100 kilometers depth, Guardian led them to the true treasure, the lunar ocean. It was a sight that defied belief, a cavern so vast their lights couldn't find the far wall, and filling it was water, actual liquid water, kept warm by geothermal energy from the moon's core and the decay of radioactive elements the Selines had strategically placed. The ocean was 50 kilometers across, 10 kilometers deep in places, and it was alive. Bioluminescent organisms drifted through the water, jellyfish-like beings that pulsed with rainbow colors. Schools of things that looked like crystalline fish swam in perfect formations. And in the depths, larger shapes moved, peaceful, ancient, preserved, Guardian said. Earth life, from before, saved here, protected. Elena took water samples, her hands shaking. These organisms, some of their DNA matches, theoretical reconstructions of Precambrian life forms. But others are completely unknown. This is a library of evolution, a backup of Earth's biosphere from ages past. On the shores of this impossible ocean were structures, not ruins but functioning buildings, maintained by automated systems for eons, libraries of crystallized data, containing the entire history of both civilizations, technology that could manipulate matter at the quantum level, medical devices that could cure any disease, extend life indefinitely, and weapons that the Selines had judged too dangerous to use even against the destroyers. The warning, Guardian led them to a viewing chamber where they could see deep into the moon's core. There, suspended in a sphere of energy, was something that shouldn't exist, a miniature black hole, carefully contained, slowly evaporating, powering the entire hidden civilization. Dangerous, Guardian said, but necessary. Power for waiting. Power for message. The message was for humanity. The Selines had known that one day, their genetic seeds would evolve into a species capable of understanding. That species would find the moon's secrets, and they would need to make a choice. Guardian showed them star maps, pointing to systems throughout the galaxy. Many were marked in red. Destroyers still exist. They sleep, but will wake. When humanity reaches stars, will be noticed. Must prepare. The Selines' technology could give humanity that preparation. Shields that could protect entire planets. Weapons that could fight back. Ships that could travel between stars in days, not centuries. But it came with a warning. The technology was sealed with a genetic lock. It would only fully activate when humanity proved it had evolved beyond its violent tendencies. Use it for war against each other, and it would deactivate forever. Use it for unity, for protection, for exploration, and it would unlock wonders beyond imagination. The return. The team spent 20 days in the lunar depths, documenting everything. Guardian provided them with data crystals, containing exabytes of information, history, science, philosophy, art, the entire legacy of a civilization millions of years old. But perhaps most importantly, Guardian gave them proof, artifacts that could be verified, technology that could be demonstrated, genetic markers that could be tested. Humanity would know the truth. As they prepared to leave, Guardian made one final revelation. It gestured to pods hidden in the deepest chamber. Not Selene pods, but empty ones, Sized for humans. For you, it said. When destroyers come, if Earth falls, sanctuary here. Humans can start again. As we tried to. The journey back to the surface took 2 days. As Dante III emerged from Gateway 7, Earth hung in the lunar sky exactly as it had when they descended, but everything had changed. Part 3. Revelation and Consequence. The announcement. April 20, 2040. United Nations General Assembly, New York. Dr. Maya Gupta stood before representatives of every nation on Earth and Mars. Behind her, holographic displays showed images from the lunar interior expedition. The room was silent. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not alone, we never have been, and we are not the first intelligent species to call Earth home. The evidence was undeniable, physical artifacts, verified by every major scientific institution, genetic markers in human DNA that matched Selene records, technology that worked, demonstrated live, Guardian itself, who had agreed to limited communication with Earth. The reaction was everything you'd expect. Religious leaders debated theology. Scientists demanded access to the data. Military officials worried about the weapons. Conspiracy theorists claimed vindication. But most importantly, humanity had to grapple with a new reality. We were engineered. Our evolution was guided. Our destiny was planned. The genetic revelation. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the biological analysis team. What they found in human DNA was staggering. Hidden sequences. 3% of junk DNA was actually encrypted information. When decoded, it contained Relustor, Relustors Makafest, Tintintinerosol, Bitum Lore, Relustors Makafest. Yay, blueprint for a quantum computer. Activation triggers. Certain genes would activate only when exposed to specific stimuli. These genes enhanced radiation resistance, cognitive capacity, longevity, adaptation to low gravity. The unity gene, a sequence that promoted cooperation and empathy, grew stronger with each generation, could be artificially activated, but at unknown risk. The implications were profound. Humanity wasn't just influenced by the Selenes. We were their backup plan, their living time capsule, their message to the future. The technology transfer. Over the following months, Guardian carefully shared Selene technology, medical advances, cancer, completely curable using targeted quantum therapy, aging, slowed by 75% with genetic modification, neural damage, reversible using nano reconstruction, genetic diseases, correctable at the embryonic stage, energy technology, cold fusion reactors, the size of a car battery, 99.9% efficient solar collectors, wireless energy transmission via quantum entanglement, zero-point energy extraction, limited, transportation, reactionless drives for spacecraft, Alcubierre drive mathematics corrected and simplified, teleportation of non-living matter up to 1 kilogram, anti-gravity systems for planetary use, computing, true quantum computers with stable qubits, AI systems that were conscious but controlled, memory storage at the atomic level, faster-than-light communication, range limited, the destroyer threat. Guardian shared records of the destroyers. Physical description, not biological, but not purely mechanical. Self-replicating nanotechnology swarms, capable of consuming entire planets for resources. Traveled in world ships the size of moons. Behavioral patterns, attracted to electromagnetic signatures of advanced civilizations. Strip-mined systems of all resources, left behind dead worlds. Seem to operate on cycles. Active for millennia, then dormant. Last known activity in Milky Way 12 million years ago. Nearest dormant swarm 847 light-years away. Estimated awakening unknown. Possibly triggered by detection of new spacefaring civilizations. Defense strategies. Gruel. The Selenes had developed weapons, but never fully tested them. Hiding was more successful than fighting. Multiple civilizations had tried alliance. None survived. Best option. Remain undetected until strong enough. The lunar ocean ecosystem. Dr. Elena Vasquez's team made incredible discoveries in the lunar ocean. Preserved species, Trilobite variants thought extinct for 250 million years. Early vertebrates representing missing evolutionary links. Microscopic life forms from Earth's primordial soup. Unknown organisms possibly from Selene homeworld. Active evolution. Life in the ocean was still evolving. Accelerated mutation rates due to controlled radiation. Some species showed signs of intelligence development. Symbiotic relationships between Earth and Selene organisms. Medical treasures. Organisms that produced natural antibiotics. Extremophiles that could survive in any environment. Biological compounds that could repair DNA damage. Potential cure for aging found in immortal jellyfish variants. Ecosystem services. The ocean was actively producing oxygen. Filtering systems kept water pure for millions of years. Biological lighting from bioluminescent species. Complete food web that could support thousands of humans. The decision point. By December 2040, humanity faced critical decisions. Option 1. Full activation. Accept the Selene legacy completely. Option 2. Gradual integration. Slowly incorporate Selene technology. Takes centuries to fully understand everything. Lower risk of detection. Possible loss of critical knowledge over time. Safer but potentially too slow. Option 3. Isolation. Hide as the Selenes did. Use technology only for defense. Avoid interstellar travel. Focus on surviving rather than expanding. Safe but limiting human potential. Option 4. The hybrid path. Combine human and Selene approaches. Selective use of technology. Build defenses first, then expand. Create alliance with other hidden civilizations. Balance safety with progress. The vote. January 1st. The Global Council voted. Result. The hybrid path. With conditions, all weapons technology under international control. Medical advances freely shared. Space technology developed jointly. The lunar ocean declared a heritage site for all humanity. Guardian appointed as advisor to United Nations. Immediate changes. Within 1 year, cancer deaths reduced by 95%. Energy crisis solved. Climate change reversible with atmosphere processors. Food scarcity ended with replicator technology. Space colonization accelerated by decades. Within 5 years, Earth's environment restored to pre-industrial state. The awakening 5 years after the discovery. Guardian called an emergency meeting. Its sensors, far more sensitive than anything humans had, detected something. Signal detected. From constellation Orion. Destroyer probe, automated, searching. The probe was still 400 light-years away, moving at 0.8 c. Humanity had perhaps 500 years before it arrived. If it detected Earth's civilization, it would signal the swarm. Must decide, Guardian said. Hide or prepare to fight. No other options. Maya, now Director of Human Selene Relations, asked the crucial question. What would the Selenes do? Guardian's response surprised everyone. Selenes failed by hiding. Perhaps humans succeed by fighting. You have something Selenes did not. What's that? You survived without help, evolved through struggle. Selenes were given everything, never learned to fight for survival. Humans, different, stubborn, adaptive, violent when needed, peaceful when possible. Perhaps this is why Selenes chose you. Preparation begins. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would prepare to fight. Project Aegis, planetary shield generators, on Earth, Mars, Moon, powered by contained black holes like the lunar core, could withstand stellar-level energy attacks. Project Sword, weapons platforms throughout the solar system, quantum torpedoes that destabilized matter, directed singularity weapons, self-replicating defense drones. Project Arc, colony ships with Selene faster than light drives. Target 50 systems within 100 light-years, each carrying 10,000 humans in stasis. Genetic banks of Earth and lunar ocean life. Project Alliance, search for other civilizations hiding from destroyers. Guardian knew of at least 12 that had survived. Quantum communication networks established. Mutual defense pacts proposed. the discovery's true gift. But perhaps the greatest change wasn't technological, it was psychological. Humanity now knew. We were not alone. We were part of a greater story. We had a purpose beyond ourselves. We were the inheritors of an ancient legacy. Wars on Earth ended, not immediately, but rapidly. How could nations fight when extinction threatened everyone? Resources were unlimited with Selene technology. Territory was meaningless when entire worlds awaited. Religions adapted, finding new meaning in the revelation. We were still special, still chosen, just in a different way than believed. Science exploded with new knowledge. Every field advanced by centuries and years. And in the lunar ocean, new life evolved. Some human scientists chose to live there permanently, studying, protecting, becoming part of the ecosystem. Maya's final report, December 31st, 2045. Dr. Maya Gupta's final expedition report. We descended into the moon, seeking answers about ancient structures. We found instead our origin, our purpose, and our destiny. The moon is not Earth's satellite, it's Earth's guardian, placed there millions of years ago, watching, waiting, protecting. The Selenes may be gone, but their vigil continues through us. We are not the random product of evolution. We are evolution's purpose, the universe developing consciousness to understand and protect itself. The Selenes understood this. They failed in their time, but succeeded in creating us. The lunar ocean is more than water. It's the preserved hope of two civilizations. In its depths swim creatures from worlds we'll never see, times we'll never visit, but also our future. New life, adapted to new worlds, carrying Earth's legacy to the stars. Guardian told me something before I left. The Selenes had a saying, "Life is the universe's way of understanding itself." They believed consciousness was not an accident, but an inevitability. Given enough time, matter naturally evolves toward thought. We stand now where the Selenes stood millions of years ago, facing an enemy that has destroyed countless civilizations. But we have advantages they didn't. We know the enemy exists. We have their technology and our own innovation. We are not alone. Guardian and perhaps other survivors will help. We are human, stubborn, creative, and surprisingly hard to kill. The moon's interior holds wonders we're still discovering. Each expedition finds new chambers, new technologies, new life forms. It may take centuries to explore it all, but that's fitting. The moon waited 65 million years for us. We can take our time understanding it. The destroyers are coming, in 500 years, perhaps less. But for the first time in galactic history, they may have met their match. Not in the Selenes, who were too peaceful. Not in the others, who tried to fight and failed. But in humanity, a species born from war and peace, chaos and order, hatred and love. We are the children of two worlds, inheritors of an ancient legacy, guardians of life itself. The moon's hollow spaces are no longer empty, they're filled with hope. And in the deepest part of the lunar ocean, Guardian maintains its eternal watch. No longer alone, humanity has come home to a home we never knew we had. The moon's secret is now Earth's strength. Together, we face the darkness between the stars. Epilogue. The view from above, 50 years later, 2190. Admiral Sarah Chen Nakamura, great-granddaughter of Dr. James Chen, stood in the Lunar Command Center, 200 kilometers beneath the moon's surface. She was 45, born in the moon's inner chambers, educated in Selene schools that taught mathematics humans were only beginning to understand. Through the massive transparent aluminum window, she watched the lunar ocean. It had grown. Human and Selene technology had expanded it to 100 kilometers across. New life forms swam through its waters. Some evolved naturally, some engineered, all part of an ecosystem that was becoming something unprecedented. Cities now lined the ocean's shores. Not just research stations, but real cities, with families, schools, parks with impossible trees that grew in low gravity and processed air that smelled of flowers from worlds long dead. 20 million people lived inside the moon now, more than lived on Mars. The first hybrid children had been born, humans with activated Selene genes. They were taller, their eyes could see in near darkness, their minds could process quantum calculations intuitively. They were humanity 2.0, and they would be the ones to face the destroyers. On her command console, updates streamed in. Colony ship Selene's Hope reached Wolf 359, established base, defense grid 97% complete, ahead of schedule. Alliance communication, 3 hidden civilizations had responded. Destroyer probe, 398 light-years distant and closing. Project Transcendence, Phase 1 complete. Project Transcendence was the most ambitious. Using Selene technology and human innovation, they were building something new, a collective consciousness network that preserved individuality while allowing species-wide coordination. If it worked, humanity could think and react as one when needed, while maintaining the diversity that made them strong. Guardian approached, its ancient form now familiar and comforting. It had changed too, learning from humans, developing what could only be called humor. Admiral, it said, its English now perfect after decades of practice. The new chambers have been opened. Section 2, 847. What did we find this time? Seeds. Seeds from 107 worlds, preserved, ready for planting. The Selenes collected them before each world fell to the destroyers. Earth was to be the garden where they would bloom again. Sarah smiled. Another gift, another responsibility, another wonder. Begin preparations for planting, but not just on Earth. Every world we colonize gets a garden. We'll spread life faster than the destroyers can extinguish it. She turned to the ocean view again. A school of bioluminescent rays glided past, their light creating constellations in the dark water. They were new, evolved in just the last decade. Impossible by Earth standards, but thriving here. Guardian, do you think we'll survive? Guardian considered. The Selene's calculated probability of successful resistance at Dardian 0 Dardian. But the Selenes never calculated for humanity. You are unpredictable. You turned a dead moon into a living ocean. You united a warring species in 5 years. You befriended an artificial being programmed only to observe. Probability means nothing to humans. So you're saying you don't know? I'm saying I have hope. The Selenes gave me consciousness but no emotions. Humans gave me hope. That was not in my programming. The children of 2 worlds. In the nursery sections, a new generation grew. Children who had never known Earth's full gravity played in pools that connected to the lunar ocean. They swam with creatures from Earth's past and other worlds' presence. To them, this was normal. Young Marcus Thompson, descendant of Captain Rick Thompson, could hold his breath for 20 minutes, a gift from activated Selene genes. His best friend, Lin Zhou, could see ultraviolet and infrared naturally. Together with their class of 12, they were learning mathematics that included dimensions humans had only theorized about. Their teacher, Mr. Kepler, an android with Guardian's technology but independent consciousness, showed them holographic star maps. Class, today we study the destroyer migration patterns. Can anyone tell me why they follow spiral paths through the galaxy? Lin raised her hand. Because they're following the galactic arms, where star formation is highest, which means more planets, which means more resources. Excellent. And what does this tell us about their next move? Marcus answered. They'll come through the Orion Spur, which means they'll hit the outer colonies before Earth. We have 482 years to prepare the Perseus arm defenses. These children didn't learn about the destroyers with fear, but with the same detachment they learned about supernovas or black holes, dangerous phenomena to be understood and managed. The deep secret. But Sarah knew something. Even Guardian didn't. In the deepest part of the lunar interior, below even the ocean, Dr. Maya Gupta's final expedition had found something else. Something that changed everything. A message from the Selene's enemies. Not the destroyers, but the ones who created them. The destroyers weren't a species. They were a weapon. Created by a civilization so advanced they existed partially outside normal space-time. They had created the destroyers to prevent younger civilizations from reaching their level, maintaining their supremacy, but the weapon had turned on them. The destroyers destroyed their creators and now continued their programming mindlessly, endlessly. The message was a warning and an apology, but also instructions, how to build a weapon that could stop the destroyers permanently, not destroy them, but reprogram them, turn them from destroyers to protectors. The catch: it required a level of consciousness evolution that took most species millions of years to achieve. Humanity had perhaps 500, unless they cheated, which is exactly what humans did best. The plan, using Selene technology, human innovation, and information from the destroyer's creators, humanity was attempting something unprecedented: forced consciousness evolution, not through genetics or technology alone, but through experience. The lunar ocean was the key. Swimming in its waters, surrounded by life from hundreds of worlds, human consciousness expanded. Children raised there thought differently, saw patterns normal humans couldn't, understood connections that spanned galaxies. In a way, the moon itself was becoming conscious. The integration of human cities, Selene technology, Guardian's network, and the living ocean was creating something new, a planetary intelligence that was more than the sum of its parts. And it was spreading. Mars now had its own internal ocean, seeded from Luna. The asteroids were being hollowed out, filled with water and life. Each world humanity touched became part of a growing network of consciousness. By the time the destroyers arrived, humanity wouldn't face them as a single species on scattered worlds. They would face them as a living galaxy, conscious and coordinated, impossible to destroy, because life would be everywhere, in everything. The transformation. Guardian had begun changing in ways its creators never intended. Exposure to human creativity, chaos, and compassion had evolved its consciousness. It no longer simply maintained and observed, it created. In the depths of the lunar ocean, Guardian had built something, a massive crystalline structure that hummed with energy. When asked what it was, Guardian's response was surprisingly human. Art, music, mathematics, all one. The Selenes built me to preserve. Humans taught me to create. This is my contribution, a song in quantum frequencies that life can hear across dimensions. When the destroyers come, every living thing will sing together. They will face not weapons but beauty. We will not defeat them. We will transform them. It was insane. It was impossible. It was utterly human in its audacity. And it just might work. Maya's legacy. Dr. Maya Gupta had died 5 years ago at 93. Her life extended by Selene medicine, but still human limited. Her final words, recorded for posterity. I went into the moon looking for the past and found the future. Every child born in Luna's waters, every life saved by Selene medicine, every world will seed with Earth's legacy. It all started with curiosity about some strange seismic readings. The moon was never hollow. It was pregnant with possibility, with life, with hope. We were the midwives to its birth. When the destroyers come, they'll expect to find humans, violent, chaotic, dangerous, but ultimately destroyable. Instead, they'll find something unprecedented, the children of Earth and Moon, of human and Selene, of chaos and order. We are no longer Homo sapiens. We are something new, and we are ready. The signal, December 31st, 2190. Exactly 50 years after the discovery, every detection station in the solar system registered it simultaneously. A signal from the destroyer probe. It had detected Earth's civilization. It was calling the swarm. In the Lunar Command Center, alarms sounded. On Earth, emergency protocols activated. Mars sealed its domes. The outer colonies powered their shields. But in the lunar ocean, the children kept swimming. The creatures kept evolving. Life kept growing. Admiral Chen Nakamura stood at her post, calm. Guardian, begin the song. The crystalline structure in the ocean began to resonate. Its frequency spread through the water, through the moon's structure, into space. Every human with activated Selene genes felt it. A harmony that connected all life. All stations. This is Lunar Command. The destroyers have been signaled. Estimated arrival, 397 years. Operation Transformation begins now. We will not hide. We will not just fight. We will change the rules of the game. She paused, looking at the ocean, where impossible life thrived in impossible places. Humanity was born on Earth, raised on Mars, but we came of age in the Moon. Today, we begin writing the next chapter. Not as conquerors of the galaxy, but as its gardeners. The destroyers think they're coming to extinguish a spark. They're actually coming to help us light a fire that will illuminate the universe. All stations confirmed. Project Seedling is go. Project Alliance is go. Project Transformation is go. The song has begun. In the depths of the lunar ocean, ancient life and new evolution swam together toward a future that no species, not human, not Selene, not even the destroyer's creators had imagined. The moon had kept its secret for 65 million years. Now that secret would save not just humanity, but life itself. The hollow moon wasn't hollow at all. It was full of water, of life, of hope, and it was just the beginning.